Hello and welcome to Alex Coma's World, a platform for me to discuss about different topics that I feel are important to bring out to the world, and hopefully will bring something positive to you guys who are watching this. The first thing that came to me when I was thinking of what I wanted to talk about for the first episode, well, of course, this pandemic thing is going on and everyone is locked up inside, so was kind of obvious for me what this first topic would be. I think there's a lot of fear about the future and what's going to happen after the pandemic. So we're all kind of on hold, powerless. But through my years of studying the esoteric and this spiritual world, I understand how through our willpower we can actually take control of our future. And I think this is the perfect time to exercise this. And so this first podcast will kind of delve into this. I think through this collective unconsciousness, we're all connected in some ways and we all co-create our reality. Instead of waiting for the government heads to decide for us what is going to happen for the future, we should be instead thinking about each of and every one of us, what do we want to see happen? We are in this very powerful and rich transition in the world right now. And I think it's in these subtle times that the potential is the biggest. Anything is possible. It can go on the dark or on the white side. We are the ones who will decide this at the end of the day. Are we gonna submit to someone else's willpower? Are we gonna use our own to create the future we want and envision? So yeah, I wrote a few things here that I wanted to discuss. Like, if you guys are not familiar with the work of Dr. Joe Dispenza, he's a medical doctor that studies intensively these the quantum fields and how everything is linked to the mind. Mind and matter there is connected through this quantum field, and through meditation, through visualization, we can actually create the future. So the first thing I thought about bringing is through arts. I used it in the past few years as a tool to transform myself. So I've been building artworks that actually help me crystallize some very dense information so that I can assimilate it better. How I come to understand it over time is that to manifest something, you have to have a very perfect balance between the masculine polarity and the feminine polarity. So masculine would be the willpower, the direction, the very more rational thinking. So you try to use this energy balance with the feminine energy, which is all about creation and intuition. And when you create art, you're actually, with your willpower, putting some colors or some ink on a paper or on a canvas. And you're expressing something that's intangible, that comes from inside, and you're putting it on a surface. So using this, I think we could think of the future, envision the future we want, and start creating art that talks about it as a way of making it more cohesive in our minds. Yeah, just helping us envision it on a deeper level, on an energetic level, not just on a surface level, because the manifestation doesn't happen just on a surface level. It has to be felt inside. And I think also that creating art is a way to feel more in control of our lives instead of waiting for something to happen. And in this sense, by being active about it, eliminates the fear aspect of it, because you're not thinking about this chaos in the world, which only brings more chaos and ultimately makes us not do anything and just wait. passively. By the way, this was the card that I drew for this specific episode, and it's the Lover card. It's the Lover card in the Thoth deck. And this card is actually about the union of both energies together as a powerful force in nature. I wanted to use this deck and just create a very short reading and just to give you some inspiration. So I'm just gonna draw 4 cards and interpret them very quickly for you guys. Okay, well, I think from first interpretation I can see that it is linked with my message in some ways. The card that depicts the past is the Wheel of Fortune. So this card is can talk about how we've all been put in this situation passively, and Wheel of Fortune is like the laws of karma that are in action. So we just have to observe them. This brings us to this center card is everyone in the situation of the coronavirus. We're all in the same thing together, locked inside with our material stuff, which brings us to the future, the Queen of Coins, which will actually depict a specific personality trait of being with our environment, which is material, to be creative with it and don't sit down and just wait. Move around, create, do yoga, do some activity. The advice that the universe has for you is the Fool card reversed. So the Fool card is the first card of the major arcana, depicts just this inert energy that's about to start a new cycle. So it would represent all of us in this new chapter of life, like this brand new opportunities that are gonna arise after this crisis. New mindsets can be created. It's a reminder to take it seriously. You have all the power in the world through yourself by connecting to others and to these bigger invisible forces. So take advantage of it, take it seriously, and take it as a way to start a new journey once it's over. Manifest something new that you have always dreamt about. Don't waste your time thinking of when it's going to end, the job, the boring job that you're going to have to go back to. Manifest something that you really want, that's close to your life path and that resonates on a deeper level. For the second part of episode 1, I thought I would give an example of how my art evolved to be a tool for introspection, because I was not conscious that this would become this back in the days. And so the first project I did was my initiation in the magical world, as well as my initiation in the art world. So this first painting I created for this body of work called Inner Outer Worlds was actually me using architecture to create a dialogue between my own inner world and my outer world. So architecture was for me a metaphor for the ego, with the outer shell being like the physical appearance and the landscape being, like in the tarot cards, ways to give hints of my interaction with the outer world. So the skies, if it's a stormy sky, could represent a stormy emotions boiling inside. But in this case, the background, we just see a very big building centered. So you see the ego is the center of the attention in this case. The landscape has a very surreal feeling with light that doesn't really make sense, as if the plants are self-lit. So I wanted to create this vision of myself in this weird place. So this led to the second painting, which in this case is a smaller ego that's kind of isolated in this landscape, but that communicates directly with the moon. So this beam of light coming from the moon The moon in this case represents the unconscious mind. So me starting to look back on my first painting I created, to find the symbolism hidden in it. The verticality also is from this physical realm towards the higher realms that we can see even in the yogic Kundalini, where the Kundalini energy arises up as I was looking myself for these higher realms, which led me to this painting, which is called Enigmatic Universe. It's actually the result of a book I read, which described the 7 laws of the universe. And so I took this knowledge and, using symmetry, tried to communicate a few of those, like the law of polarity, which is depicted by this full bright tree versus on the left side this more thin and fragile tree, or this symbol that I was hand-sewn of the flower of life, which depicts the 7 realms of existence inside of this flower. All of this evolved into this landscape that's very surreal and was a good reflection of where I was myself in my life, finding answers, opening doors that I didn't know could be opened at the time. The next one I created was to go with the second one in this series, called Higher Self. In this case, it's about introspection. So while the other paintings you're looking at the ego or at the landscape, in this case you are looking from inside, as if you're looking through my eye sockets, through the outer landscape, with this candle light that represents the soul. So it was a time in my life where I understood that everything we live and see and perceive with our 5 senses are always tinted by our soul purpose. There are energies that are bigger than us that control us. We are not fully independent in this world. This brought me to this painting, which is the biggest one I've ever created, called Path of Recovery. So once I've discovered all of this knowledge, very intuitively, with tarot and with the study of my dreams, where you see this very serene space, which invites to contemplation and meditation. It was all about my discovery of how to become the best version of myself through self-analysis. So this first step of becoming the best version of ourselves is to face our traumas. So this was what I found to be the best way to heal, and it's self-love over time. Time here is depicted as this river, this flow of time moving, and it's all about transition. So that you see the time of the day is like the sunset or the sunrise, but a transitional period. Lots of symbols are hidden in it, like Saturn on top of the painting is reversed, depicting the end of a cycle, and this Ouroboros snake that's surrounding the meditation cushion. This was a natural process in my self-development, which brought me to the last painting of this series, called Sublunar Return. So this painting is actually, with all these symbolism, the resume of what I've learned in these 3 years of doing this series. So first of all, the church depicts how my new vision of my body as a sacred space, sacred temple, that you have to treat with respect and take care of. The symbols are all talking of the power that we have to manifest our future, which is exactly the theme of this episode. There's a little symmetry on the left with my initials on a death stone, to talk about the death of the ego and the merging of the real self with the bigger realms. All this to say that you can manifest whatever you want in this life. And art is a very powerful tool to do so. So I encourage everyone to start scribbling and just intuitively draw and then take a moment to disconnect from the artwork and come back later and analyze it, see what you can get from it. So that's all for episode 1. If you liked it, please give a thumbs up and subscribe and give me comments. It's my first time, so I'm very open to receiving your critiques, and I want to make it interesting for you guys. Please comment. Till episode 2, have a nice quarantine